I think that was an accurate statement when Chase said that, particularly about the promiscuity. It's hard.
Well, I definitely think like the promiscuity. Like I said, like, you know, feminism has always and will always be supported by men. It's men are the, you think a bunch of women got together and decided to just force their way to get the right to vote and to do all this stuff? No, like
Yeah.
men supported it. Men have always supported this. So since men have always supported it, it's always been man driven. Men were the engine behind it.
Certain men, yeah, I don't want to get your channel in trouble, but men that Michael Jones and guys like Nicholas J. Fuentes would identify as the architects of all the subversive movements. Well, feminism is the diabolical attack on the family. When Our Lady appeared in Fatima, Portugal in 1917 to 3 little Portuguese children this year, she said the final attack of Satan on the world before our Lord comes back will be on the family. And then in 2015, people thought that this was about, you know, transgender and Bruce Jenner and all that shit. No, it's about functional gender dysphoria, functional transgender, which is really feminism, which is an old story. Like,
well, we see I blame the church for both of it. Okay. I said the church was the evangelical church was androgynous, right? You couldn't tell what gender it was. With egalitarians, you can have female pastors, you know, servant leader, got to be a good little servant leader, right? Like that right there is just, it just spreads out a androgynous spirit. So you got the church being transgender and spiritually, then you got the secular world being transgender physically. What's the difference between the two? You know, in a sense, like that to me was the huge problem. And, you know, and like I said, I blame the church for a lot of this stuff. You know, church never checked feminism when it could have. It caved and it adopted egalitarianism and complementarianism and did away with patriarchal theology. And that was the biggest mistake, because since then we have seen the divorce rates have been steadied. And for some reason, I was going to ask you this, like, why is it that if Christians are supposed to be like the standard of marriage, if Christ in the church is a reflection of marriage that we're supposed to uphold ourselves, then why do we have the highest divorce rate among all religions?
Well, I don't think that's true. I think Jews have higher, but you know, because they're kind of, remember, like abortion is
yeah.
But it's pathetically high. I agree with all of your analysis, and I would say it's worse in the Roman Catholic Church. The feminism is of the 3 major types of Christian, it's the worst in my the woods. Since Vatican II, I mean, you know, we don't have to do a whole historiography of, you know, what happened.
I would have swore that it was worse than the Protestant, but I did not think it was worse than Catholic Church.
Well, here in the South, in Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, the Carolinas, Protestants are quite strong and they're quite manly. Now, I mean, I still think they have theological errors, but they're on the feminism issue. They're pretty exemplary. That's part of the reason I moved here with my family. You just don't want to. I got 6 little girls and 1 little boy. I don't want all these 6 little girls even seeing this. We homeschool them, but because even the Catholic schools aren't good enough in most places. But it's a Vatican II story. I mean, I know probably your audience is generally familiar with the concept of Vatican II, which did change the church's cultural face. It met between 1962 and 1965 and basically started trying to be not based on everything. The Catholic Church, you read all these popes in even the early part of the 20th century, I could read you a litany of them. And there's just this based sort of strong patriarchal, anti-feminist, anti-Zionist takes, anti-Old Testament people takes, just based. And Vatican II just makes it sound like the church is flip-flopped, and it hasn't. There's some verbal trickery and even maybe some neurolinguistic programming that got into people like me that was being educated in the 80s in Catholic schools. I didn't realize what had happened there. But yeah, this is Pius X, one of our most based popes in the early 20th century, said it's a mistake to maintain that women's rights are the same as man's. Women in war or parliament are outside their proper sphere, and their position there would be the desperation and ruin of society. Woman created as man's companion must so remain always under his power. Typical early 20th century pope, typical pope for the first 1960 years of Roman Catholicism, but it got inverted. I could read you basically every other pope in the 20th century up to Vatican II. There's not a change in doctrine, but there's a change in the way that the popes talked about doctrine. It sounds like a total reversal. So I would say it's worse in Catholicism than even deep South Protestantism, where it's quite strong. And the Ortho Bros, American Ortho Bros, are pretty good at holding the line. So I would say Catholicism's the worst. And I'm a Roman Catholic like thought leader guy, so lay thought leader guy. So this is quite the admission I'm ashamed to make.
So, you obviously know the dating market field. You know how things are going. When it comes to marriage, and the marriage rates are plummeting, the divorce rates are high.